I'm wearing black. I'm mourning the jellyfish relationship. The jellyfish ship has sunken. The Belly Jer wedding is dead. War is over. War is ended. It's not happening. We don't have to deal with any more Belly and Jer wedding planning scenes. We don't have to probably see them be romantic again. This is a big win for Team Conrad girlies. This episode, I was not expecting. If you watch any of my prior episodes or any of my theories about this show so far, getting the rehearsal, the wedding, and or like the fallout from the wedding all in the same day was not at all what I was expecting in this, which I should have known. Jenny Han has beaten me over the head with it's gonna be a different ending, things are gonna change, it's not exactly like the book, it's not exactly like what you think is gonna happen. And did I listen a single time? No, I didn't. I still am standing firm in that Belly is gonna end up with Conrad. The final trailer, which we're also gonna talk about today, absolutely confirmed that for me. But the fact that I have very little idea as to what is going to happen in the next 3 episodes in their totality is kind of crazy. Like, there are massive plot points that could happen in the next 3 episodes that I have no idea. And I will say huge kudos to the writers of this show for not only being willing to take a little bit more of this risk, expanding on the source material and actually making something that's probably better than the original source material, if I can speak, but most importantly, to Jenny Han for not being so precious about her original work and allowing something exciting for fans, because I have read this book, I have revisited this book, I have rewatched episodes before, I have read synopses to be like, I know exactly what's going to happen. And there's a part of me that loves knowing what's going to happen, but I love even more when I feel like I can trust a creative team behind a show to finish strong but still not know exactly where they're going. And I feel like they're doing that. So huge round of applause to the Samurai Turn Pretty writers room, to the creatives behind this show. You guys have made it such a fun season to get to watch. Let's focus on episode 8 at first before we go into those next 3 episodes and the trailer. Ultimately, I loved this episode because I think you really feel for everyone here. If you are a Team Conrad girl, you're going to feel for Jeremiah at times. I think there are people who are like, wait a minute, like, all these other people are calling Conrad out and saying what he's doing is wrong, but I empathize with him. People obviously empathize with Belly of like trying to sort through her emotions and logic and what she's being told, and this newfound trust from her parents, which was like a huge element of this episode, to the money that's being spent on this, to not feeling like she can trust Jeremiah to tell her important things in their marriage, and then Conrad's confession. Like, everything worked seamlessly together in this episode to create something that's really tense, and you understand kind of why Belly is going through these different emotions. It's not like everything is laid out in front of her in like a pros and cons column. It's just kind of everything is entangled together, which is why she chooses to step away at the end of the episode. I have to focus on me. I gotta put me first, Lucius. I gotta put me first. I think in this, I felt like Gavin did an incredible job portraying Jeremiah, because I think he's had a tricky job all season of making somebody that's lovable to where we do understand why Belly would want to marry him, but also somebody who has a lot of faults to where we can clearly see that she's not the right person for her. And that's gotta be so hard as an actor to like be the bad guy that thinks he's kind of the good guy and like struggle with that. That's gotta be a struggle. And I think here, specifically in his confrontation scene with Belly, which I have talked a lot about the Conrad and Belly stuff, but I have kind of avoided the Jeremiah and Belly situation on this show because it just doesn't appeal to me as much. But I think in that moment between them on this wedding day, you can tell that like he does feel wronged and he's ignoring some of his own faults in this. The fact that he believed Belly was still in love with Conrad and still went through with this wedding. He blames her for accepting the proposal when he knew that he was probably taking advantage of a really tumultuous time. Like, I think he's written in such a way to where he is this really intensely complicated character in the same way that I think Conrad has felt like from the beginning, if you've been a Conrad supporter. But here I really felt it for Jeremiah, because I have gone back and watched the episode. I've watched clips of this scene of him and Belly, and at different times I've been like, oh, he's kind of right. Like, she didn't need to accept the proposal if she was still in love with Conrad. At the same time, though, I do think he was being gaslighty. Oh man, like, it's horrible to realize that like the woman you love is in love with your brother. At the same time, you picked a fight and then continued to go on to cheat, and then kept that a secret, so you can't be mad at her for a secret. It's what makes this show so great, is that these people are able to be very complicated and do things that real people may not choose to do, but that they get to do here, and I really love that. I also really enjoyed in this episode the fact that kind of everything was out in the open, right? Like, in that conversation, Jeremiah and Belly get their feelings about Conrad, about Susannah, about each other out into the open. Conrad's got his feelings out in the open to basically everybody. Almost everyone else is aware. I think a lot really got revealed this episode. A few things I still want to be touched on are the fact that Adam's infidelity, I don't believe, has been revealed to Jeremiah yet, so I want that. Jeremiah's infidelity has yet to be revealed to Steven, which I think Steven would have acted differently in this episode had he known that. And then I obviously want Steven and Taylor to have their, like, to-be continued conversation, which I cannot believe they did that to us. Like, I understand they didn't have the time in the episode. They needed to get to some other more pressing matters. But I really need them to have this, like, conversation and get back together and, like, have a healthy relationship this time and not just a chaotic one. Like, I really desperately need that. And then I love that Taylor finally got to give her feelings too about Jeremiah and Belly's relationship. I think what I really love about this moment is you can tell over the last episode and this one that Taylor isn't sure she's doing that blindly supporting Belly is what's best for Belly anymore. You see that over the Bachelorette episode. You see that when Belly comes to bed crying and Taylor's like, do you want to talk about it? You see that when she says, like, was it right to tell Conrad to go away? I like the fact that we've gotten to see Taylor is questioning whether blindly supporting her friend is worth it. And in this moment, this do or die moment, she finally speaks her mind. She retires as the Jellyfish CEO, which I have seen that meme everywhere. It's so funny to me. I liked that this episode too had kind of the visual language, which a lot of people obviously have talked about, like Taylor's hair or some of the other choices of like things just feeling slightly off and slightly wrong. There's nothing about this wedding that should lead to it being wrong from like a visual standpoint, but things like the fact that we're missing characters, which obviously I think was done for like a budget reason of like Redbird and Annika and stuff not being a part of the rehearsal. I do think that's like a practicality thing of like what are those characters supposed to do in that scene. But at the same time, it serves as this like, wait, we're like, where are these people? Like, I'm confused. And it embeds you with this feeling of like something's off for this wedding, which I think ends up really paying off, obviously, by the end when the wedding gets called off itself. I will say, too, I really loved in this episode, obviously because it's a wedding episode, but we really get to see Belly in exclusively white this episode. Obviously, she wakes up in her bachelorette dress, then she puts on an all-white outfit, she's in a white robe, she has the pink and white one while she's getting ready, but then the rest of the episode, it's like her rehearsal dress is white, her wedding dress is white, all of these things are white, and I think that's kind of a reset when we've talked about the color theory of this show, of she is not picking an allegiance to either boy, and like, yeah, obviously she's wearing white because it's a wedding, duh, but I think it is she's not wearing other colors, and even pink, like, you could stretch and say that that's closer to red, but I feel like it's like, okay, at that moment, she's being kind of like generic girl. Even her white top at the end, like, she is wearing white because she does not have the allegiance to like either boy, and she's kind of empty, she's blank, she's a blank canvas, and she needs to go and figure out what that is, which leads me to a theory I have from the trailer and from a poster that we've yet to talk about. There's been a couple of posters that we've discussed, obviously the wedding poster, the poster that's inspired by Sabrina, all that kind of stuff, but the first initial trailer that freaked everyone out about Belly choosing herself, Belly's wearing a yellow dress in front of some yellow hydrangea. It's like just Lola tongue. It's just Belly in front of this hydrangea bush, and it's very much implied like, okay, she's picking herself, and I think this is to tie the color yellow to Belly for a multitude of reasons. One, primary colors are red, blue, and yellow, so if we already have red and blue associated with the boys, yellow being Belly's color just makes sense. Two, yellow has like a little bit of hopefulness. She's the stereotypical walks into a room, lightens the room, like the whole room. What's that expression? She lights up an entire room. And in the Paris trailer for the final 3 episodes, we see Belly in front of like the yellow section of the cinema. One of her friends is wearing a yellow jacket. And so I think when you tie all of this and connect it to the yellow dress, I think it's, yes, Belly is choosing herself, and what this trailer portrays of like her going to Paris, her choosing to do what she wants, to figure out who she is. I think we're going to see a lot more yellow brought in her wardrobe. And I think ultimately the show, even though again, I stand by that she's going to be with Conrad, I do think that she's going to be wearing yellow in the end. This is a lot of rambling about the color yellow and a lot of stretching, but I really do think that that's the color we're going to see tied to her very closely in the next several episodes. I also just want to say, now that a lot of the secrets are out, you know, Belly is choosing herself and she's going to Paris, and that is wonderful, but I think everyone in the show really needs improvement, and this is where I'm so excited that the show is going a different direction from the book, because we never get to see like Jeremiah in therapy being like, yo, my dad died, my fiance left me, my dad cheated on my mom, all that kind of stuff. He needs that. I feel like Steven and Taylor need to have some really serious talks about their relationship. I really want to see Steven and Denise's game come together and how that impacts like their lives. I want to see Taylor be able to get back on track with hers, especially after this conversation with Lucinda this episode about how Lucinda's like, I'm the mom, you are the child, like I need to be looking out for you, like you shouldn't have to protect me. I just want to see all of that, and I want to see everyone improve, because what pissed me off the most this episode, more than Jeremiah not telling her about the job, more than Jeremiah trying to blame all of this stuff on Belly, was the fact that in this episode, everyone who is mad at Conrad for telling Belly about his feelings cheated. Every single person is a cheater. Taylor and Steven cheated on their significant others with each other. Okay, they're not perfect. Jeremiah, obviously, his cheating is super significant. And yes, I understand where they're coming from, that like Conrad's timing is completely wrong and he should have said something literally any time other than 2 days before her wedding. He wasn't saying it the morning of the wedding. That's just kind of when they all figure it out, that he said something. But Jeremiah is the one that chooses to act childish because of this. Like Taylor even realizes like, hey, I'm not saying you should be with Conrad, but I definitely think you need to work on yourself. And ultimately, like Conrad only says that he still loves her because Belly's not listening to him about, hey, what about you? What about you? Like, you wouldn't want to get married at a country club. Like, have you changed? Like, are you even happy about this wedding? Like, that's what he was going after first. He was not simply looking to dump his feelings on her and move along and not face the consequences of his action. Like, he's fully willing and ready and does face the consequences of his actions. He goes straight to that airport to head back to California. Anyway, that just really drives me crazy when I revisit the episode, because I'm like, none of you should be giving Belly advice about love and telling, or more specifically, you should not be telling Conrad that what he did was wrong. Because I think he at least gave the full options, and he would never have condoned Belly cheating on Jeremiah with him. No. Anyway, justice for my boy Conrad, because all the cheaters were circling him like sharks this episode, and I did not appreciate it. End of episode 8, Belly goes to the airport, she sees Conrad, and we have to talk about what I think this means, because with the trailer for the next several episodes obviously focusing significantly on Paris, which I don't think will be there the whole time because of something Jenny Han posted about, like, there's a lot of stories to wrap up in Cousins and with the Cousins crew, so I think that's important. But I'm curious what you guys think. Like, do we think that they're gonna have a La La Land moment where like she sees him and he sees her, they kind of acknowledge one another but go their separate ways? Because obviously I think like if he sees her at the airport headed to Paris, he's gonna realize like the wedding is off. Like, she's by herself, Jeremiah's not there. Do they have a conversation where she tells him like, I called off the wedding? And does he say like, go to Paris? You need to go to Paris? Like, does he encourage it? Which I have torn feelings about, because on one hand, I want Belly to have agency to make the choices about her life. And she is the one that's like bought the ticket to go to Paris. I don't want her to just like turn around and be with Conrad instantly. I've seen some people be like, no, like I don't want to have to wait 3 more episodes. But like Belly desperately needs time. Let's think about what's happened. Her basically second mother died of cancer. And that was the reason partially she broke up with the boy she's loved her entire life. Then she started dating his brother. He cheated on her. They got back together after her brother almost got hit by a car. They planned a wedding in like 6 weeks where she was by herself. She realizes he's financially irresponsible. She realizes she still has feelings for his brother. Breaks up with him on the wedding day after also canceling a study abroad trip that she's always wanted to do, all without having finished college. Like, all throughout the show, she's been through a lot in 3 seasons. Like, she needs time away from both of these boys, and specifically maybe Conrad, especially if she's realizing her feelings for him, because I, more than anything, want Belly and Conrad's reunion as a couple to feel earned, and I want it to be worth it because we have waited 3 years for this, so like it needs to be good. So now that I've stated that, I kind of lean more towards the La La Landness of it. I just feel like that could work. But in Paris, there's a couple Easter eggs in that trailer. I still haven't figured out the big one. I don't know that we ever will, of what Jenny Han like posted about. But basically we have Benito, who is a potential love interest of Belly's. I don't want to go into detail. He's referenced in one of Conrad's letters in the books, which, knowing that Conrad's letters are coming is such a key sign that she's not going to change the ending of this show, because if she had them go like no contact, basically, I would have been like, okay, maybe people are right. Maybe she does choose herself. Maybe she does move on from these boys. But the letters being there, to me, is significant proof that she's going to end up with Conrad. Also, right before we get the letters, there's been fireworks. A couple of you have commented on the fact that I did not call this out, and this is so good, is that there are fireworks, and then it cuts to Conrad's letters, which makes me think one of 2 things. One, it's a reference to her conversation with Conrad in season 2, where she basically says, like, I don't think I could be with someone who didn't give me fireworks. And he goes, I feel the same way, Belly. Like, I couldn't be with somebody who doesn't give me fireworks. And obviously the subtext there is that they give each other fireworks. But that is at a New Year's Eve scene. The banner behind Taylor and Belly is a New Year's Eve sign in French, and like Happy New Year sign. And I think that Belly is going to stay there not just for the 6 months of her study abroad, but potentially longer, because I'm kind of getting the impression that maybe she doesn't hear from anybody for 6 months, or she spends the 6 months there and then chooses to spend another 6, like being okay. Because if you pull in the Anything Can Happen Ellie Gouldie song that was played over the trailer, I Don't Think I Need You are some of the lyrics, where it's like, okay, yeah, she doesn't need these boys, she doesn't need the Cousins Beach House, but you can make the choice to have something that you do. Like, just because you don't need something doesn't mean you're not going to choose to have it in your life. And I think that's kind of a hopeful message, because I know some people have been worried about the usage of that song, but for me, I took it as very hopeful. So yeah, there's so much to dive into. I've done a couple of deep dives on the trailer. I've done a couple things about this episode, but I think the combination of just where we're headed for the season, I'm very excited. I'm really looking forward to breaking down episode 9 for you guys tomorrow over a video and like live stream and stuff, because I think it's gonna be a doozy. Like I don't fully know what's gonna happen, and that is very exciting, but I also just cannot wait to see. So if you are looking forward to that live stream and or future video breakdown, please be sure to subscribe. I would really appreciate it. The channel has grown immensely over the last month. I'm so excited to continue to grow it with you guys over these last 3 episodes. I'm also going to start making some videos, shorts, and live streams about content very similar to this. I may be doing a post soon, so look out for that if you want to vote on what you might see me react to on the channel. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me yap about the show. I love it so much. I appreciate you all so dearly, and I will see you in my very next video. Bye, y'all.